Why did an entire world scream for salvation? Yet no one in the Imperium could agree on what truly happened there. Long before Imperial records were sealed, before the Inquisition declared the data crypts restricted, the planet ESPANDOR was a name whispered with reverence, then with dread. A jewel of Ultramar, a disciplined bastion of order and agriculture, ESPANDOR was the kind of world the Imperium pointed to as proof that stability was possible. But on one winter dawn, as a pale sun struggled to pierce the thickened atmosphere, ESPANDOR changed, forever. It began with a tremor small, barely felt, a shiver beneath the endless farmlands and fortified cities. Local seismographs traced it, filed it, dismissed it. But the tremor wasn't the beginning. It was the warning, a heartbeat, the pulse before the scream. Hours later, a voxed-out priority signal reached orbit. Distorted, frantic, overloaded with static, a single voice broke through. Not a soldier, not an officer, a child, there in the sky. Burning wings, please, then silence. The orbital defense platforms logged the distress. Astropaths sent ripple warning messages through the cold void. But by the time the first Imperial Navy patrol ship rerouted toward ESPANDOR, the skies were already changing. A thick, unnatural haze spread across the upper atmosphere, crackling like living static, distorting Auspex readings. Something massive was moving inside it, something with intention. The Navy frigate, Judicator's Light, adjusted course, its crew bracing for contact. They expected pirates, raiders, even a rogue microfleet. What they saw instead were fractures, rifts hanging in the clouds like wounds. Purple-red lightning danced across the tiers, growing wider, distorting physics itself. The ship's captain, a veteran of the Indomitus Crusade, whispered a curse no one should have heard him say, Tyranids. But this didn't look like any high fleet pattern he knew. Down on the surface, ESPANDOR's provincial regiments began evacuation drills, their officers moving through crowds with enforced calm. Families rushed into bunkers carved beneath the fields. The great cities, Karen Prime, Winterspick, Soteria flashed evacuation beacons. Yet even as they tried to maintain order, every man, woman, and child felt it. The growing pressure in the air, like the planet itself, was anticipating something monstrous. In the governor's palace, alarms echoed in long marble halls. Governor Cashin Thule stood before the panoramic glass, his breath fogging as the sky boiled with color. He had governed through famine, rebellious harvest guilds, and even a minor chaos cult that had tried to hide among the farm workers. But nothing felt like this. Get me the Ultramar Defense Auxilium, he ordered. His Vox officer swallowed. Already attempted, sir. Communications are fading. Something's jamming, no, consuming the channels. Consuming? Sir, the crystals are melting. Before Thule could respond, an aide burst into the chamber. Governor, the Basilica Gloriana has fallen. What do you mean fallen? The man's face was ghost white. It didn't collapse. It folded inward, like something crushed it from the outside and the inside. Thule felt the tremor return, stronger. This time the marble beneath his boots cracked. The first living spores descended moments later, burning streaks across the sky, trailing smoke. Some slammed into the plains, carving steaming craters. Others burst mid-air into clouds of chittering forms that rode the wind toward the cities. ESPANDOR was no stranger to the threat of war. But this attack didn't feel like war. It felt like hunger wearing the shape of a planet-sized predator. And then came the Vox blare heard across every stronghold. All regiments engage and hold. Ultramarines are en route. For a brief moment, there was hope. On the Judicator's Light, the navigator watched a blue blip appear on long-range Auspex, a drop pod beacon signature. Then another, then dozens. The transponder codes were unmistakable, 13 Legion successors. But there was one signal among them older than all the rest. One the navigator had only read about in revered tomes, the heraldry of the Ultramarines chapter itself. The Sons of Guilliman were coming. Down on ESPANDOR, panic became resolve. The gun line steadied. Hydra flak tanks roared to life. The rattling thunder of Earthshaker artillery rippled through the fog-drenched fields. And through that fog, the first wave of Tyranids arrived. Unlike any strain catalogued before, they moved wrong. Not with the efficient, swarming cohesion typical of a hive mind offensive. These creatures jerked in unnatural patterns, their limbs twitching as if pulled by invisible strings. Some screeched without mouths. Others had too many. Their bodies cracked as they moved, like their bones were reshaping second by second. A lieutenant in the 14th Winter Guard gave the first report. Some of them don't match. Their biomass is fluctuating, like they're trying to stabilize. Trying to stabilize from what? Before the Imperium could answer, the Ultramarines arrived. Blue-clad meteors tore through the clouds, drop pods slamming into the burning plains, dispersing shockwaves of dust and shattered rock. The first Astartes to emerge was a towering figure bearing the standard of the Second Company. His armor was scorched, his helm stylized with a golden laurel. He walked with calm purpose, bolter raised. Captain Severian Marius. Behind him, squads deployed with machine-like precision. The air filled with the thunderous rhythm of bolter fire. Tyranid monsters erupted into clouds of ichor and bone fragments. But even the Ultramarines' legendary, unbreakable paused when they saw what was approaching next. A monstrous silhouette lumbered through the haze, spined carapace, bladed limbs. A tyrant, but distorted beyond recognition. Its head split down the middle as it roared, revealing a second skull beneath the first. Its wings were mismatched, as if stolen from different creatures entirely. It wasn't evolution. It wasn't adaptation. It was corruption. "Melta teams," Marius commanded. "Bring it down." The ground convulsed as the beast charged. A guardsman screamed as a shadow passed over him. Another tremor rocked the battlefield. This one wasn't from the creature. This one came from below. Sinkholes began splitting open, swallowing tanks, infantry, even the reinforced agri-terraces. Something beneath Espandor was stirring. Something colossal. Something old. But Espandor had no recorded Xenos ruins. No buried megastructures. Nothing except soil, cities, and citizens. So what was waking beneath it? The fighting intensified. Ultramarine squads advanced toward Charon Prime, carving a path through the corrupted swarm. The city's once white spires were now coated in a living film, throbbing, glistening, breathing. Civilians trying to escape were caught in strands of organic webbing that pulsed like veins. A veteran sergeant, Helion Darvos, tore one open with his combat blade. Inside, the trapped man gasped, but something was wrong. His eyes flickered. His flesh twitched. A faint chittering sound came from beneath his skin. "Kill me," the man whispered. Darvos obeyed. All around Espandor, similar scenes played out. The Tyranid presence wasn't just devouring the planet, it was changing it, warping it, rewriting it. A tech marine analyzing a fallen bioform identified traces of something horrifying. Warp taint woven into Tyranid biology. An impossible fusion. A contradiction to everything the Imperium understood about the Hive fleets. Tyranids avoided the warp, never used it. Never tolerated it. So how was this happening? Above the atmosphere, orbital augers registered a new anomaly. A shadow drifting within the haze. Too large to be a ship, too small to be a moon. Its surface wasn't metal or stone, it was alive. And as it pulsed, the distress calls from Espandor warped into screams. Captain Marius received the first deciphered fragment from orbit minutes later. Something is overriding them. Not hive mind, not psychic, something else. The transmission died in a burst of static. Back on the surface, Espandor's defenders were pushed back toward the capital. Tanks rolled through debris-clogged streets. Civilians huddled beneath makeshift barricades. The Ultramarines held intersections like unbreakable pillars of ceramite and will. Yet every hour, more sinkholes formed. More bioforms mutated mid-stride. More citizens began changing. ESPANDOR wasn't falling. It was unraveling. In the governor's bunker, alarms flickered as ventilation systems strained against a growing stink of rot. Governor Thule sat in silence, staring at the trembling ceiling. "Send one last message to McCragg," he said softly. "Tell them, this is not a Tyranid invasion," he exhaled. "It's something worse." Outside, lightning rippled across the sky as the living shadow in orbit expanded, unfurling like the petal of some impossible cosmic flower. Its edges shimmered with colors no human eye was meant to see. And deep beneath ESPANDOR's surface, something massive shifted again, slow, deliberate, as if awakening from a millennia-long sleep. The tremor that followed was not the planet screaming. It was the planet answering. Aboard the Judicator's light, the auger screen suddenly went white. Something was coming through the upper atmosphere. Not a Tyranid drop organism, not an Imperial reinforcement, something else. The crew stared in frozen horror as the silhouette emerged from the haze, and then every alarm on the ship exploded at once. This was the moment ESPANDOR's true fate began to reveal itself. But the truth waiting inside that silhouette was far worse than anything the Imperium imagined. The silhouette descending through ESPANDOR's upper atmosphere didn't fall like a meteor, nor glide like a ship. It drifted weightless, deliberate, its shape shifting as if undecided what form it belonged to. Tendrils of light curled off it, pulsing in a rhythm too slow to be natural, too alive to be mechanical. The crew of the Judicator's light stared in mute terror as Auspec's readings scrambled, rebooted, then died completely. What remained was the naked view, unfiltered, undeniable. The object unfurled, like a massive cocoon tearing open, and something stepped out. At that exact moment, in ESPANDOR's capital, the Ultramarines felt it. Not through sight, not through sound. Through presence, the kind that pressed against their reinforced helmets like a sudden shift in gravity. Captain Severian Marius paused mid-stride, the rubble of a shattered hab block crunching beneath his boots. His visor dimmed automatically as a shockwave of pale light rippled across the sky. What in Gilliman's name? Battle Brother Darvo steadied his bolter. The air, it's vibrating. It wasn't just the air, it was the world. A hum rose low, steady, resonant like a chorus of distant throats singing beneath the soil. Civilians clutched their ears. Guardsmen staggered. Even Astartes felt a tremor run through their enhanced nervous systems. Then the light hit the ground, not as a beam, not as a weapon, as a presence like a second sun briefly touching the surface. The capital's battered spires cast elongated shadows toward it, bowing, stretching. Dust rose in spirals. The fog that had clung stubbornly to the battlefield recoiled, parting in a circle nearly a kilometer wide. And in that cleared space, the thing finally revealed itself. It stood 3 times the height of a carnifex, but its body was wrong, too slender, too symmetrical. Its limbs ending not in blades or claws, but long, elegant fans of luminous bone. Its torso was plated in segmented armor that pulsed faintly, as if it were breathing in tandem with ESPANDOR's trembling crust. Its head bore no eyes, only a smooth, angled mask of chitin that shifted like liquid stone. But the worst part wasn't its appearance, it was the aura. Every Tyranid within sight froze. The smaller beasts trembled, limbs twitching uncontrollably. Warriors buckled, collapsing in spasms. Even the towering corrupted tyrant halted mid-charge, its mismatched wings quivering as if held down by invisible chains. Captain Marius felt his Vox channel crackle alive. "Use, do you see it? Emperor, protect us, what is that thing?" It was the fleet commander of the Judicator's light. His voice was shaking. "It's not matching any Tyranid biometrics. Radiation patterns are... Emperor, this shouldn't be possible. It's suppressing the swarm, suppressing." A word that belonged only to Psychers, Necron pylons, or the Emperor himself. Not to something that had just emerged from a living shadow. The creature raised one arm slow, deliberate, and the ground beneath it split in a perfect circle. the soil parting like liquid. From the widening fissure rose a column of shimmering something, not biomass, not rock, not warp light, information. Images flickered within it, memories, faces, worlds devoured, stars collapsing. A living archive made of stolen thought. Darvos muttered a curse. "Captain, is it showing us?" "No," Marius said quietly. "It is showing them, the Tyranids." One by one, the broken, spasming bioforms lifted their heads. Not in rage, in recognition. As if the creature was not a stranger, but a master. The corrupted hive tyrant screeched, a sound so distorted it didn't echo, it cracked the air. It staggered forward a step, limbs contorted, wings twitching violently, then it bowed. Every guardsman who saw it froze, some forgot to breathe. Tyranids did not bow, not to anything, not even to each other. Marius's voice was barely audible. "That thing, it's controlling them." A tremor shook the city, then another. Sinkholes erupted like open wounds, spilling swarms of hybrid Tyranids, part beast, part something else. Spindly limbs fused with crystalline growths, skulls carved with unnatural symmetry. They didn't attack. They scuttled toward the creature, forming a perimeter around it, almost like an honor guard. Thul, still in the bunker, received a feed from the city's last functioning drone. He watched the scene with unblinking horror, whispering more to himself than to his staff. "So that's the truth. The Tyranids aren't invading us." His voice broke. "They're here. To awaken it." The hum intensified. Even ultramarines braced against the pressure, armor servos whining under the strain. The creature lowered its arms, the luminous fans curling inward like closing petals. Then the world went silent. A single psychic pulse rippled outward, soundless, invisible, unstoppable. Civilians collapsed. Guardsmen fell to their knees. Several unshielded psychers screamed as their minds overloaded, blood seeping from their eyes. Even the ultramarines stumbled, helmets buffering most yet not all of the pulse. Marius gritted his teeth. "Report, anyone." Only static answered. But the object wasn't trying to kill them. It was broadcasting. A message, not in Gothic, not in any human tongue, but in a language older than the hive fleets. Older than Spiritus Mundi. Older than the darkness between galaxies. A memory unfolded, unwanted, unstoppable, broadcast directly into the minds of every sentient living thing on ESPANDOR. A colossal void, a dead star, a shape drifting through eons, shedding layers of itself like a molting serpent. A fleet rising around it, not born, not engineered, but grown from its cast-off flesh. The Tyranids weren't children of a distant galactic hunger. They were fragments, pieces, remnants of something older. The creature on ESPANDOR, the original, the first. And now it was reclaiming its lost pieces. Slowly, the creature angled its head toward Captain Marius, as if aware that he was resisting more than most. For a moment, just one, it felt like its eyeless mask was looking directly into him. A second psychic pulse hit. This one wasn't a message, it was a command. Tyranids surged forward. The Ultramarines opened fire, the battlefield exploding in bolter thunder and searing plasma. The corrupted bioforms shrieked and lunged, their warped bodies contorting in unnatural bursts of speed. But they weren't fighting with blind hunger anymore. They were coordinated, purposeful, directed by it. Marius fired a crack round into a warrior's thorax, splitting it in half. "Fall back, regroup at the eastern barricade." "Move." Darvos fired a burst into a screeching gaunt. "Captain." The creature, its presence is destabilizing the ground. As if on cue, the earth convulsed violently. Entire streets collapsed. Buildings tilted, groaned, and slid into yawning chasms. From below, a deep, resonant roar reverberated, something massive, something ancient responding to the creature's call. It wasn't awakening something beneath ESPANDOR. It was unbinding the planet itself. Darvos leapt aside as the street split open behind him. What in the Emperor's name is happening? Marius didn't answer. He didn't know. But in the rising dust, he saw something that chilled even an Astartes' heart. The fissures weren't random. They were forming a pattern. A symbol. A sigil carved on a planetary scale. As he watched, the creature turned toward the spreading pattern, almost admiring, almost satisfied. Then something unexpected happened. A battle barge silhouette pierced the haze above. Its blue and gold hull gleamed through the psychic storm. Reinforcements. Not just any reinforcements. Chapter command. A third psychic pulse erupted from the creature, violent this time, angry, furious. The corrupted Tyranids reacted instantly, racing toward the city center, toward the Ultramarines, toward anyone who stood between the creature and whatever it was trying to complete. On the Judicator's light, alarms blared. Contact. The living mass in orbit is contracting. No. Focusing. Emperor, preserve us. It's reacting to the arrival of the battle barge. In the ruins of Charon Prime, Captain Marius glanced at the heavens, watching as blue contrails streaked downward. Drop pods. Hundreds. The sky shook with the arrival of more Ultramarines. The creature turned its faceless mask upward. For the first time since its arrival, it hesitated. Marius saw it. A pause. A flicker of uncertainty. Whatever this being was, ancient progenitor, exiled tyrant, evolved aberration, it hadn't anticipated this. It hadn't expected the Imperium to respond with such force, with such speed. The delay was brief, but it was enough. And in that heartbeat of hesitation, the ground beneath ESPANDOR gave way entirely. A towering structure, crystalline, organic, impossibly vast, began rising from the depths, shedding centuries of dust and stone. It surged upward like the spine of a buried god. Marius stared, breath frozen. Not a structure, a vessel. A dormant leviathan. Buried under ESPANDOR, waiting. The creature extended both arms, trembling with effort, as if reawakening the buried colossus required strength beyond even its immense power. Tendrils of light lashed from its body to the rising leviathan, linking them in a web of ancient, pulsating energy. Darvos whispered, "Captain, what is that thing doing?" Marius didn't look away. Becoming whole, the leviathan roared as it broke through the crust, molten rock cascading off its chitinous hull. The psychic pressure skyrocketed, nearly knocking even Ultramarines off their feet. Civilians collapsed unconscious. Guardsmen dropped their rifles. The air tasted like burning copper. And then, faint, distant, almost drowned by the chaos, a new sound emerged. Thunder. The unmistakable thunder of drop pod retro thrusters. Reinforcements slamming into the ground. A full strike force. The creature's head jerked violently toward the incoming pods. And for the first time, its perfect composure fractured. Not from fear, but from urgency. The Leviathan groaned, shifting, cracking its ancient restraints. It was moments from awakening, moments from breaking free. The creature raised both arms toward it, pouring energy into the colossal beast. Marius felt it, like a pressure building inside his skull. Then something else. A second presence. Faint. Human. Someone familiar. A voice. Echoing through the psychic storm. "Severian, hold the line." The captain's eyes widened. Because he recognized that voice. And the moment he did, the Leviathan screamed. The creature unleashed its full power, and everything on ESPANDOR seemed to ignite at once. Light, sound, pressure, impossible forces colliding. The world blurred. And when the light cleared, nothing was the same. For several long seconds, the world lay inside the afterglow of that blinding eruption, colors smeared across the air like spilled aurora. Dust suspended weightless, sound reduced to a distant, ringing hum. Captain Marius blinked into the haze, his autosenses struggling to recalibrate. His armor felt heavier than it should. Even his enhanced lungs fought against the pressure, as if the atmosphere itself had thickened into something half-solid. Shapes moved in the fog shadows without owners, echoes of the blast still dancing in the air. It took him a moment to realize they weren't illusions. They were memories, fragments, flickers of places he had never seen yet somehow recognized, endless voids, lit by drifting bioluminescent creatures, worlds wrapped in living tendrils, oceans of black ichor swirling around leviathans the size of cities. Each vision burned for a heartbeat, then dissolved into mist. A psychic residue. The creature had unleashed something so powerful it tore impressions of its own past into the very air. Darvis's voice rasped through the vox, shaky but alive. "Captain, status?" Marius steadied himself, boots sinking slightly into the ruptured earth. "I live. Report." Brothers scattered. Some unconscious, some seeing things. Marius didn't answer right away. He was still watching the memories dissipate, like smoke rising from an ancient fire. Then the haze shifted. The Leviathan, half awake, half buried, writhed beneath the city, its colossal form silhouetted in molten gases rising from the fissure. The creature stood at its edge, both arms extended toward the behemoth, its luminous armor dimmer now, trembling, as if the effort of reawakening the Leviathan had drained something essential from it. But it wasn't weakened. No, its aura had changed. The commanding presence it had radiated earlier had grown. Unstable, flickering, contaminated, as if something foreign had touched it during the blast, something it hadn't anticipated. Marius sensed it in the air, a faint psychic recoil, like the aftershock of two titans colliding somewhere deep inside the creature's mind. And then, Severian. The voice again, softer, fading in and out like a failing signal. He turned instinctively toward the sound, though he knew it wasn't external. It resonated inside his skull, threading through layers of discipline and memory. He couldn't grab it, couldn't interpret it, but the familiarity was undeniable. Someone he had known, someone he had lost. Severian. Hold. The voice cut off, replaced by a sharp crackle of psychic distortion that forced him to his knees. Pain spiked behind his eyes. His helmet's readout spasmed. He tasted copper on his tongue. Whatever that presence was, it had drawn the creature's attention. Its eyeless mask angled toward him, as if it had heard the same whisper and recognized its origin. And in that moment, Marius felt something cold slide through his mind, not invasive, not hostile. Curious, as if the creature was searching him, learning him. Darvos reached him, bracing the captain's shoulder. "Severian, Captain!" "Focus, you're bleeding." Blood trickled from his nose. He wiped it away with the back of his gauntlet, never taking his eyes off the creature. "It's probing us," Marius muttered. "It's reading what we know. And what we are." Darvos grimaced. "Then it's about to be very disappointed." Marius didn't respond. The truth was more unsettling. He felt the creature wasn't disappointed at all. It was intrigued, as if something inside him, some memory or echo, was familiar to it. The Leviathan roared again, a sound that shook entire blocks into collapse. Spires toppled, streets folded inward. Civilians still conscious fled toward the shelters, stumbling through the fractured remains of their city. And through the quake, new drop pods slammed into the ground, reinforcements from the battle barge overhead. Blue meteors cutting through falling debris. But they didn't land smoothly. The psychic interference in the area twisted their trajectories, sending half of them spiraling off course. One slammed into a manufacturing block, detonating in a bloom of blue-white fire. Another cratered into a broken roadway, its doors blown open, its squad disoriented but alive. A third pod descended straight toward the Leviathan. Before it could land, a tendril of energy lashed from the creature's hand, catching the pod mid-air. It froze, suspended, and crushed inward like a tin sphere. Marius felt a chill crawl beneath his armor. Darvos whispered. It knew exactly where they were going to land, before they even entered the atmosphere. No, not knew, predicted, anticipated, as if it had seen this scenario before. Marius's suspicion grew silent, heavy, impossible. This creature wasn't just old, it wasn't merely ancient. It remembered the future. Another tremor rocked the battlefield as the Leviathan's dorsal plates shuddered, splitting open to reveal a cavernous maw of tendrils and luminous organs. It was waking faster now, too fast. The creature poured what little strength it had left into the rising colossus, pushing it toward full consciousness. Once awakened, a single Leviathan could swallow entire continents of biomass. ESPANDOR wouldn't survive minutes. Marius knew what had to be done. Darvos Vox Channel. Patch to all squads still able to fight. Darvos hesitated. Your intent, Captain? He didn't answer until Darvos finished the connection. When he spoke, his voice carried the hard resolve of a warrior walking willingly into damnation. We neutralize the control entity. If it falls, the Leviathan may revert to dormancy. If it does not, he let the implication hang. ESPANDOR would burn. The creature's head tilted in almost human recognition. It raised one hand. The ground beneath Marius erupted, stone shards launched upward like spears. He barely leapt aside as a pillar of crystal burst from the earth, skewering the space he had just occupied. It wasn't defending. It was warning him, telling him he was beneath its concern. Darvos fired his bolter in raw defiance. Hey, over here, you blind abomination. The creature didn't react, not to him, not to gunfire, not to the reinforcements. Its attention remained fixed on Marius, that trembling aura flickering, as if two wills were fighting inside it, one ancient and cold as the void, and something newer, something furious, something unbound. Marius felt the presence again, this time clearer. Severian, stop it. Before what? The voice faltered, dissolving midway like a broadcast cut off by interference. Darvos steadied him. What is it? What's wrong? Marius opened his mouth and everything changed. The Leviathan convulsed violently. Its plates snapped shut. Its tendrils recoiled. A psychic shockwave blasted outward, flattening anything standing within 100 meters. The creature stumbled, its first sign of instability since arriving. Marius felt it, a fracture, a break in its control. Something inside the Leviathan had resisted the awakening. Something had pushed back. Darvos saw the shift too. Is it fighting itself? No, Marius whispered. Something inside it refuses to obey. The shockwave had revealed something else as well. The Leviathan wasn't just rising, it was hollow. Sections of its interior glowed with faint geometric lines, symmetrical, metallic, unnatural. Human architecture. Imperium. Darvos's breath hitched. Captain. Emperor's bones. That's not just a tyrannid creature. It's been built into. No wonder it was buried. It hadn't simply slept beneath ESPANDOR. It had been imprisoned. Marius stared up at the massive structure, realization crystallizing into horror. ESPANDOR had never been a peaceful jewel of Ultramar. It had been a seal, a lock, a planet-turned prison for a creature older than the Hive fleets. And the Imperium had never known, or someone had erased that knowledge. Darvos exhaled shakily. So the swarm didn't come to devour ESPANDOR. They came to set something free, Marius finished. The creature froze mid-gesture, its trembling growing worse, its mask shifting like rippling water. For the first time, its body contorted not deliberately, painfully. Something inside it was attacking from within. Another flicker of memories erupted in the air, this time not of alien worlds, but of a different scene entirely. A lab, a chamber, Imperial sigils scorched into dark walls. A screaming Astartes strapped to a device as a pulsing organism wrapped around his spine, fusing into him. Marius recoiled. Darvos steadied him. What did you see? Marius shook his head. Not. It wasn't clear, but he knew. He felt it in the hollow of his chest. Whatever the creature was, it wasn't singular, not one being, a fusion. A hybrid, something that should never exist. The Leviathan shifted again, bellowing a roar that rattled every bone in Marius's body. The creature answered it. lifting both arms, barely able to stand, pouring the last of its power into the awakening. And then, a voice spoke behind Marius, soft, human, almost familiar. "Captain, you mustn't let it finish." He turned and froze. A figure stood in the dust, armor scorched, helmet missing, face half-shadowed. A face Marius knew, a face he had buried, a face impossible to see again. His voice caught in his throat. "Brother?" The figure took one step forward, but its eyes were wrong, not human at all. And before Marius could speak, the figure whispered, "It remembers you, Severian, because part of it began with us." The ground shook violently. The creature collapsed to one knee, the Leviathan screamed, and the impossible truth hung in the air. Whatever that ancient entity was, it wasn't just reclaiming the Tyranids. It was reclaiming something human, something ultramarine, something tied to Captain Marius himself. And the figure, half man, half echo, stared at him with a question that shattered the world he thought he knew. "Do you finally see what they did to us?" Before Marius could answer, the earth split open beneath him. The silence after Thalian's revelation didn't feel like silence at all. It felt like the pressure inside a sealed hull just before it bursts, air too dense, thoughts too loud, the weight of what had been said vibrating beneath every heartbeat. Varentian didn't move. Neither did the image of Ixion's last stand, still flickering on the fractured lumen screen above them like a dying omen. Only the drifting dust motes dared to shift, catching the faint red glow of warning lumens, making the air itself look like it was bleeding. "What you saw," Thalian finally whispered, "wasn't the end of Captain Ixion. It was the beginning of the wrath." A tremor rolled through the chamber as if ESPANDOR itself reacted to those words. Somewhere deep in the fortress, a chain of explosions thundered, distant, muffled, but too regular to be random. Enemy charges being set. The Tyranids were not only battering at walls, they were carving through the foundations, chewing tunnels toward the heart of the bastion like a cancer learning new ways to spread. Varentian's gauntlet tightened on the edge of the hololith table. "If Ixion is still alive," he began, but Thalian cut him off with a raised hand. "Alive? Perhaps. But not unchanged." The apothecary's voice trembled not from fear, but from the crushing weight of knowledge, the symbiote that touched him. "I've never seen anything like it. It didn't consume him. It learned him. It studied him, and then it withdrew. Like a predator testing prey it intends to leave for later." Varentian felt the floor tilt beneath him, though he knew it was only in his mind. Why would it withdraw? Thalian's eyes lifted, glowing in the red lumen light. Because it understood something. Because it recognized something. And I fear, it may have changed him in ways we are not equipped to face. For a long moment, Varentian said nothing. The air hummed as the warning lumens flickered to a deeper shade of crimson, signaling structural breaches on the lower levels. It meant the Tyranids were closer than anyone had predicted. It meant time was running out. Thalian stepped closer. "Brother." Ixion didn't simply vanish into the swarm. He made a choice. He walked into it. The data logs from the observatory caught it barely. That wasn't a retreat. It was a surrender. But not the kind that breaks a warrior. The kind that hides something. Or someone, Varentian murmured, remembering the last look in his captain's eyes, sharp, cold, and too calm for the chaos around him. Thalian nodded slowly. The only thing stronger than Captain Ixion's will is his hatred. And what I saw in those recordings was not a man broken. It was a man calculating. Before Varentian could respond, the fortress walls groaned violently. The lumen screens blinked out for half a heartbeat as power rerouted. Another quake. Another impact. The swarm was digging, closer. A voice crackled over the vox, frantic, distorted by static and screams. "Command, this is Bastion Gate Theta. We have breaches, multiple Tyranids pouring through the outer trench. We need Reinfer." A shriek, a burst of gunfire, then silence. Laurentian felt the storm inside him harden into a solid, cold purpose. "We can't hold ESPANDOR if we don't understand what we're fighting," he said quietly. "If Ixion is part of this mystery, then we need answers before the entire moon falls." Thalion exhaled slowly. "There's more. Follow me." They moved through the dim corridors of the war fortress, the floor trembling beneath their armored boots. Every bulkhead they passed bore fresh gouges, acid burns, or the smeared remnants of battles that had ended too quickly. The deeper they went, the more the fortress felt like a tomb. Thalion stopped before a sealed blast door marked with apothecarian sigils and danger runes. He keyed in a long sequence, his gaunted fingers shaking. With a hiss of decompression, the slab pulled open, releasing a rush of cold air and something else, something metallic, sharp, and wrong. Inside, the chamber lights flickered to life, bathing the room in ghostly white. Medical servitors lay collapsed, their limbs frozen mid-motion, as if they'd died in the midst of some frantic task. Broken data slates littered the floor like fallen leaves. And at the center of the room, suspended inside a cracked stasis field, was a cocoon. Not tyrannid, not human, something between. It pulsed subtly, rhythmically, like a second heartbeat echoing within the walls. Laurentian took a step forward, every instinct in his body screaming danger, wrongness, mutation. "What is that?" Thalion swallowed. Something recovered from the impact crater where Ixion vanished. The cocoon twitched. Veins of faint blue light crawled along its surface, like lightning trapped beneath skin. Laurentian froze. "It's alive." "Yes," Thalion whispered. "And it reacts only to one thing." Laurentian turned sharply. "What?" "You." A chill swept through him. "Explain." Thalion gestured to a bank of sputtering hollow recorders. "When any of us approach, it remains dormant. But when you came near the lab earlier, before the attacks intensified, it pulsed. It awakened. As if recognizing you." Laurentian's pulse tightened. Recognition, memory, connection. He took another step toward the cocoon. It responded instantly. The light within surged, bright enough to cast shadows on the far walls. The surface rippled like liquid metal touched by wind. For a moment, Laurentian felt something. A thought. A whisper without sound. A presence brushing against the edges of his mind, familiar and foreign in equal measure. He stepped back, breath sharp. "What did you feel?" Thalion asked. "Not words, not emotion." Laurentian struggled to describe it. "More like an echo, a residue of something that knows me. Knows Ixion," Thalion corrected softly. "And through him, knows you." Laurentian looked at the pulsing cocoon again, unease twisting in his gut. "What were you trying to do with it?" "Study it," Thalion said. "Understand it." "But every test we performed was inconclusive. The biomass is not standard tyrannid matter. I've worked with enough to know. This is something else. Something tailored." Laurentian's jaw clenched. "For what purpose?" Thalion hesitated long enough to make the answer obvious. "Adaptation," he finally breathed. "The swarm isn't just consuming. It's choosing. They held Ixion alive. For this, to turn him into something more. Something deadly, not a puppet. Not a monster. Something worse." Laurentian felt a cold wave of dread wash through him. "A weapon." Thalion nodded. A deep, booming impact shook the entire chamber. Dust rained from the ceiling. Somewhere close, too close, the tyrannids had found a way into the inner levels. The apothecary moved toward the console. "We need to destroy it before they break through. If the swarm reclaims this cocoon." "No." Laurentian's voice cut like a blade. Thalion turned, stunned. "Brother, you can't be serious. This thing is a vector for something we don't understand. It's dangerous." "Exactly," Laurentian said. "And Ixion is out there. If this cocoon is connected to him, it might be the only way to find him, or to understand what the swarm has made of him." Thalion opened his mouth to argue, but another impact shook the chamber closer now. metal screeching as something tore through a bulkhead. Varention stepped toward the cocoon again, letting the pulse of alien light wash across his armor. Strange symbols flashed in his mind, shapes, sensations, distortions of memory, but none stayed long enough to grasp. Just one feeling lingered, urgency, not of danger, of purpose. As if something inside the cocoon wanted him to act, wanted him to decide. The bulkhead behind them buckled inward with a scream of tortured steel. Claws punched through the metal, tearing it open like wet parchment. The chamber lights flickered wildly as the first shadow loomed through the widening gap. Varention drew his weapon. Thalion reached for the destruct controls. And the cocoon's light surged again, this time bright enough to blind, as if something inside it had finally awakened. Something that changed everything. The cocoon burst. It did not shatter. It did not collapse. It unfolded. Slowly, painfully, like a flower blooming through centuries of ice. The walls of the chamber glowed with a spectral light as the outer layers peeled back, revealing a figure inside, tall, armored, unmistakably human, yet warped by a shimmer of alien geometry. Limbs were proportioned correctly, yet twisted subtly, sinews glinting with faint, almost metallic hues. Eyes no, sockets glowed faintly blue, the color of distant stars burning through the void. Varention staggered backward, bolter raising instinctively. But it was instinct and fear alone, not clarity, that moved his muscles. Every training he had, every battle he had fought, failed him here. This being was neither enemy nor friend, yet it carried the weight of both. And then the realization struck him with the force of a hammer. This was Ixion, Captain Ixon, yet not wholly. The man he had known was trapped inside this fusion of Imperium and Tyrannid, bound together by something older, something that had shaped the swarm itself. Severian, the voice whispered again. Softer than a breath, louder than thunder. Inside Varention's mind, inside his chest. It is me. And more. The creature or Ixion stepped forward, each movement fluid yet inhuman, limbs bending at unnatural angles. Do you see now? Do you understand? Varention's throat was dry. His gauntlet tightened around the bolter. I see a weapon. A horror. A monster. Ixion's eyes human, but not flashed a brilliant, electric blue. I am not a weapon. Not yet. I am. Proof. Thalion's voice trembled, almost lost beneath the quaking of the fortress. Proof of what? That the Imperium can create life and death intertwined. That nothing is pure. That nothing is safe. Ixion extended his arms, and the chamber trembled with psychic resonance. The tyrannid tendrils in the walls recoiled, hissing, but did not attack. They obeyed him. All of it obeyed him. Varention stumbled, realizing the truth he had been blind to until now. You control them? Ixion shook his head slowly. They are not mine. They are mine and not mine. Part of the universe older than the Emperor's throne. I did not command them. I awakened something they already recognized. I became the center. And now the center has fractured. Outside, the fortress shook violently as tyrannid swarms breached more of the inner defenses. The ground trembled, and the Leviathan roared like a planet cracking in two. But inside, time seemed suspended. The truth had slowed everything down. Varention could hear the flicker of distant gunfire, the screams, the hiss of rupturing metal. But here, in this chamber, only Ixon and the cocoon transformation existed. You walked into this, Varention said finally, his voice steadying. You chose this. Ixion's head tilted. I did. I had to. I could not allow the Leviathan to awaken fully. Not with its mind unchallenged. Not with the swarm unbalanced. And yet, I knew, stepping in, that I would not return as I was. Varention's heart thumped painfully. And now? Ixion's voice dropped, reverberating through their very bones. I am the bridge. Between the Imperium and the horror we deny exists. Between human will and the truth of the hive mind. between life and death as they intertwine. The chamber lights flickered violently, and the Leviathan's roar intensified. Outside, the swarm surged. Every creature moved toward the fissures, toward the city's heart. And Ixan turned his gaze toward the cracks in the walls, raising a hand in command, though his expression was unreadable. Varentian's bolter lowered slightly, but he did not trust peace. He had seen too much. What do we do now? Ixion's shoulders shifted subtly, and the room went silent for a long suspended moment. Then finally he spoke. Now. We decide. We choose which world survives and which falls. And the cost will be more than either of you could imagine. A tremor rocked the chamber again, stronger this time. The Leviathan shifted under ESPANDOR, its eyes flickering open, revealing bioluminescent patterns that danced across the cavernous ceiling of its massive form. The patterns were not random. They were symbols, sigils etched in alien logic and human geometry alike. And as Ixion moved toward the Leviathan, the symbols pulsed in harmony with him. Varentian stepped forward cautiously. What is it doing? Teaching, Ixion said quietly. Bringing order to chaos, aligning and unbinding, not the Leviathan alone. The swarm, the cocoon, the planet itself. Another impact shook the fortress. The Tyranid forces had breached deeper, spilling into corridors, filling the upper levels with screeching, writhing biomass. Soldiers fought valiantly, but many fell, torn by claws, swallowed by tendrils, consumed by overwhelming psychic resonance. Thalion stepped closer to Varentian, whispering, "If Ixion succeeds, he may save ESPANDOR, but at what cost to himself?" Varentian looked at the figure in the center, now fully emerged from the cocoon. His form terrifying yet magnificent, his presence bending both physical and psychic reality. The answer was written in every movement. The cost would be everything. Identity, humanity, the very soul. The Leviathan bellowed, a sound that shattered corridors and rattled hearts. Its enormous head turned slowly, the flicker of recognition in its eyes unmistakable. It was alive, sentient, and it had seen Ixion not as an intruder, not as an enemy, but as kin. Ixion's hands moved over the rising bulk, guiding, adjusting, not with strength, but with intent. Energy pulsed outward, tendrils of light wrapping around the Leviathan's limbs, coaxing it from dormancy, shaping its thoughts, bending its focus. Varentian felt the air change, the weight of millions of tons of living matter and energy compressing into something that demanded obedience. He could feel his own mind strain against the psychic resonance, his body trembling despite his armor stabilizers. "Do not let it overwhelm you," Ixion said. His voice was calm, but it carried a weight that pressed on Varentian's chest. "I am guiding it, but I am also tethered. The moment my focus fails..." He let the sentence trail into silence. The Leviathan roared again, and the swarm outside the chamber surged, yet stopped abruptly at the edge of its influence. Tendrils and limbs shifted as though held by invisible strings. Varentian finally understood. Ixion was not fighting the Leviathan. He was not fighting the swarm. He was becoming the axis around which both turned. A flash of movement at the chamber entrance drew his eyes. A wave of Tyranid warriors had broken through a secondary barrier. They surged forward, claws extended, but before they could reach the inner sanctum, the Leviathan's influence snapped outward, a shockwave that flattened the intruders, left them twitching and inert. Varentian staggered, realizing the immensity of what he was witnessing. Ixion's body, no longer entirely human, no longer entirely Tyranid, was a fulcrum balancing destruction and salvation. He was a living, breathing axis on which ESPANDOR's fate spun. The psychic hum reached a crescendo. Light wrapped around Ixion, bathing the chamber in an almost unbearable brilliance. For a moment, Varentian thought the man his brother in arms, his captain, his friend, would be lost entirely to the transformation, consumed by the resonance of ancient, alien power. And then Ixion spoke again, not to them, not to the Leviathan, but to the planet itself. "ESPANDOR, listen, I am your will. I am your shield, I am your judgment, and I will not fail." The Leviathan trembled. The cocoon's final fragments fell away, revealing the full form of Ixan. His aura spread outward like a tide, bending the swarm, stabilizing the Leviathan, drawing together the fragmented forces. The chamber walls quaked, the air screamed, and yet within the center of chaos, a strange calm persisted, a singularity of purpose, anchored in a man no longer entirely himself. Varentian felt tears prick his eyes, despite himself. Not fear, not sorrow, awe. The magnitude of what they had witnessed was beyond comprehension. The wrath of Espandor was no longer a threat, it was a reckoning. A living testament to the cost of knowledge, power, and choice. The Leviathan shifted, moving as one with Ixan. The tyrannid swarm withdrew slightly, uncertain, obedient to an axis they could not comprehend. The fortress around them groaned, but for the first time in days, the air carried a faint hope beneath the oppressive psychic weight. Thalion stepped to Varentian's side, voice low, reverent. "He has done what no one could. He has paused it. Espandor will not fall." "Not yet." Varentian's eyes did not leave Ixion. "And him?" Thalion exhaled slowly. "We will see. He has gambled everything, identity, humanity, his soul to become what must stand between worlds and monsters, and for that, he will pay a price we cannot yet measure." Outside, the Leviathan's roar softened into a low, vibrating resonance. The storm of the swarm had slowed. The fissures in Espandor's crust trembled, then steadied. The planet itself seemed to exhale, the pressure lifting slightly, the chaos receding, but not gone. Varentian lowered his bolter, knuckles white. "He's alive." "Yes," Thalion said. "And more than alive. He's the balance. The wrath of Espandor, made flesh." And now the question remains. Ixion's eyes, glowing faintly, turned toward the fissures beyond the chamber, beyond the city. The Leviathan's head tilted in synchrony. Tendrils of energy pulsed outward, stretching toward the horizon. How much longer before the balance itself demands payment? The hum lingered, vibrating in the bones of every survivor. The storm had calmed, but the reckoning had only just begun. Espandor waited. And so did they. The air was still. Not merely quiet, but pregnant with the weight of everything that had passed. Espandor breathed like a wounded beast. Cracked streets curling with smoke and dust. Rivers of molten stone winding through fissures that once formed orderly avenues. The tyrannid swarm, though not entirely vanquished, had withdrawn, pulled back by forces they barely understood, guided now by the singular will of Ixion. The Leviathan loomed over the shattered city, inert but alive, a monument to both ancient horrors and fragile survival. Its bioluminescent lines pulsed softly, a rhythm almost like a heartbeat, echoing in the empty spaces between broken buildings. Varentian walked slowly among the ruins, his bolter held loosely, eyes scanning yet seeing only fragments of what had been. He passed fallen comrades, discarded weapons, and scorched walls that bore the memory of impossible battles. Every step reminded him of the fragility of life and yet, paradoxically, of its enduring resilience. He had expected ruin. What he found was something far more complicated. Survival carved from sacrifice, understanding forged from horror. Thalion moved beside him, quieter now than in the heat of battle, his eyes reflecting the ghostly glow of the Leviathan behind them. "It is done," he said softly, not as a statement, but as a recognition of what they had both lived through. "For now," Varentian nodded. Words felt meaningless in the presence of such scale. He glanced toward the figure of Ixon, standing near the Leviathan's head, glowing faintly blue, half human, half something else, tethered to both the world and the alien forces that had threatened it. His posture was erect, unyielding, yet there was an unspoken weight in the way he moved. A gravity that was not physical but moral, psychic, and eternal. Ixion had become the axis around which Espandor's fate now revolved. The captain had gambled everything, and though he remained standing, The cost was written in the faint tremor of his form, the subtle distortions in his features, the alien geometry traced beneath the surface of his skin. Varenshin felt a pang of sorrow and awe simultaneously. He survived, but at what price? Thalian's voice was calm, measured, reflective. Perhaps the price was never his to measure. Perhaps it is the price we all pay when we confront truths larger than ourselves. He chose to become something more than a man to protect what could not protect itself. He became the instrument of a balance few can comprehend. Varenshin paused before a collapsed spire, the air heavy with the lingering scent of ozone and dust. His eyes traced the fractures in the stone, the warped metal, the faint traces of blue light still pulsing along the edges of fallen structures. For a moment, he imagined the city as it had been, vibrant, full of life, order, certainty. And then he imagined it as it could be now. A fragile lattice barely held together, yet enduring, alive, breathing slowly but persistently. He felt the truth settle over him, subtle but unyielding. Survival was not merely a matter of strength or strategy. It was a choice, a responsibility, a recognition that the universe was not a canvas upon which humans alone could paint. It was a web of interwoven forces, each action rippling outward, unseen and unfathomable, and yet irrevocably consequential. He turned toward Ixaon once more. The captain's eyes, glowing with that impossible blue light, met his. In them, Varenshin saw not just the remnants of the man he had known, but the reflection of the countless decisions, sacrifices, and convergences that had brought them here. He saw wisdom beyond years, courage beyond reckoning, and the loneliness of bearing a burden too immense for any single soul to shoulder. Ixaon's voice, quiet but resonant, reached Varenshin in ways that were more felt than heard. We did not stop the swarm. We did not kill the Leviathan. We understood. We contained. We bore witness. And sometimes witnessing is the only victory the universe allows. Varenshin swallowed hard. He wanted to speak, to ask something, but the words failed. All he could do was observe, to let the weight of what had been and what remained settle around him like a cloak. The Leviathan's enormous form shifted slightly, a gentle movement, almost reverent. It was alive, yes, but it was not a threat now. It had been tempered by the presence of Ixaon, guided by a mind that straddled the line between human and something else. And it obeyed not through fear, but through recognition of order, of purpose. The sheer scale of comprehension required to achieve that was staggering, yet there it was, undeniable and breathtaking. Thalian cleared his throat. The Imperium will not understand what has occurred here. Few will believe it. Some will brand it heresy. Others will claim divine intervention. But the truth is neither punishment nor reward. It simply is. Varenshin looked at the shattered horizon, at the distant shadows of tyranid biomass retreating, at the faint flicker of distant fires being extinguished by the planet's natural processes. And Ixaon? What becomes of him now? Thalian's gaze lingered on the figure, unmoving, ethereal in the twilight. He walks a path none of us can follow. He carries within him the weight of the balance. He has become the bridge, and bridges are not meant to linger on either side. They endure, and in enduring, they allow others to cross safely. A silence fell over them. Not emptiness, but fullness, the kind that comes after trials and chaos, when every sense sharpens in reflection, and yet the heart feels a gentle release. Dust settled in spirals around their feet. The remnants of the city stood as a testament to the fragility of existence and the strength that choice can imbue. Varenshin finally spoke, voice soft, contemplative. Do you think the universe forgives? Thalian considered the question, and then, slowly, almost reverently, he said, perhaps it does not forgive. Perhaps it simply remembers. And perhaps that is enough. Memory can be a harsher reckoner than judgment, yet it preserves the lessons we are too slow to learn in life. Varenshin exhaled, letting the tension drain from his shoulders. He looked at the Leviathan once more, at Ixaon standing tall against the backdrop of a dying day. And then at the slowly recovering city around him, the world had not ended, it had survived. And in that survival, there was a fragile, undeniable hope, a reminder that even in the face of forces beyond understanding, even against horrors older than civilization itself, choice, courage, and sacrifice remained constants. Above them, the sky was bruised with fading storms of energy and ash. The stars, dimmed by the psychic luminescence, began to peek through, pale and steady. Varentian felt, for the first time in hours, or perhaps days, the simple, profound truth of existence. Everything continues. Not perfectly, not safely, but it continues. And in that continuation, there's a kind of grace. He thought of Ixan and wondered not about what had been lost, but about what had been gained. A balance forged through pain, a protector born from trial, a bridge across incomprehensible divides. Varentian turned to Thalion, voice barely a whisper. Do you think we will ever understand him fully? Thalion shook his head gently, a faint smile touching his lips. Perhaps not. But understanding is not always the goal. Sometimes, bearing witness is enough. The two men stood in silence, watching the Leviathan's slow, imperceptible movements, watching the last flickers of Tyranid activity retreat into the shadows, watching the city breathe in uneven, labored relief. In that quiet, they felt the enormity of what had transpired, the wrath unleashed, the horrors confronted, the unthinkable choices made, and yet, amid it all, they felt something else too, the fragile, luminous persistence of life, of will, of meaning. Varentian's gaze lifted to the horizon. The stars above, pale and cold, seemed to question him. What truly defines courage? What measure of understanding can balance the weight of loss and survival? And in the deepest recesses of his mind, he knew those questions would linger long after ESPANDOR healed, long after the Leviathan rested, long after Ixan had moved beyond their comprehension. A soft wind swept through the ruins, carrying dust, echoes, and the faintest trace of alien bioluminescence. Varentian closed his eyes, letting it wash over him, feeling the calm after the storm, the quiet after the wrath. And somewhere, in the lingering pulse of the Leviathan, in the faint glow of Ixion's impossible form, a new rhythm began, a slow, steady heartbeat echoing across the fractured city. Life, endurance, and memory. ESPANDOR would remember. They would all remember. And in that remembrance lay the fragile hope of tomorrow.